cognizant that zoning will encourage specialization, improve food production, and enhance economic empowerment of the residents, noting that the law on production economics envisages that a region should specialize on that it has a comparative advantage. This county assembly urges the county government of Uasin Gishu through the Department of Agriculture, Livestock and Fisheries to carry out a group mapping exercise in the county on ecological zones and pass the same information to farmers. Mr. Speaker, sir, I think this motion is a very important motion this afternoon that we need to deliberate as a House and actually bring it to its conclusion, Mr. Speaker, sir. I therefore want to say, in Uasin Gishu County, the issue of Uasin Gishu County being the bread basket of Kenya, it is actually very true, Mr. Speaker, sir, that we are actually providing food for the entire country. And Mr. Speaker, sir, considering the growing population, Mr. Speaker, sir, it is very important that as an assembly, we ask the Department of Agriculture to do the zoning and actually give farmers the right information on what to do in a particular area. Mr. Speaker, sir, Uasin Gishu County, in terms of soil, does not really support the same groups. And in Uasin Gishu, Mr. Speaker, sir, there are several groups that we deal, our farmers really do farm. And I want to say this afternoon, Mr. Speaker, sir, it is very wise that we give also the farmers the right information so that in the northern part of Uasin Gishu, let farmers know exactly what is best at that particular region. So, Mr. Speaker, sir, I think actually giving the soil sampling and research, Mr. Speaker, sir, is a wise direction for the Department of Agriculture so as to advise our farmers on what exactly to deal with. In the northern part, Mr. Speaker, sir, for example, we do wheat, maize, and several other groups, but the most groups which do well, Mr. Speaker, sir, is wheat and maize. And I therefore want to say to the Department of Agriculture, it is time that we don't allow our farmers to do farming without a proper guideline, a proper advice from the relevant department. Mr. Speaker, sir, I also want to say that food production, Mr. Speaker, sir, is a very key area. As the population grows, Mr. Speaker, sir, in every home, you will realize that the numbers are growing every other day. And it is time, as an assembly, that we get up and prepare for the coming population in terms of actually taking care of issues to do with improving the production of food. I just want to request this House to actually participate in this motion and actually adopt it so that we compel the other wing, Mr. Speaker, sir, to actually act on it. Therefore, I want to ask the Honorable Sanga from Westbridge to second this motion, Mr. Speaker. Thank you.
Honorable Sanga.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. As a common English dictum goes, one can be a jack of all trades and a master of none. This is a common dictum to really conspicuously portray the nature of what the farmers in Uasin Gishu have been put into. Indeed, in the years back, from the colonial times to date, I think this county has been a breadbasket of the country. And indeed, looking at how things are at the moment, our farmers are oscillating from one economic activity to another, desperately wondering to the one they can earn something out of it, resulting from the escalating economic challenges and hardships faced by most of the farmers. This is so because there has been no proper policy and guideline on what is to be done within the precincts of the natural endowments of particular zones within our county. So, Mr. Speaker, in brief and in summary, this motion comes timely, and indeed I want to say that it's long overdue, because looking at how systems have been going on, we've had extension officers who are underutilized. We've had agricultural shows which have even been turned to excursions for school children. These shows have not been bearing the actual fruits because farmers don't see the need of it. You go move around and see how things are moving on and you don't implement. So they are more or less excursions for school-going children only, without necessarily bearing fruits of what is meant to be. The moment we venture into zoning ecologically the productivities within our county, most of these exhibitions, field days, and agricultural shows, and the agricultural officers will have at least something to do, and most of the farmers will be enlightened and will wake up to the occasion to salvage how things have been going on within our lands. So, Speaker, I stand to second this motion and urge honorable members to really analyze, assess, and see how best we can move fast to have a good start of systems within the agricultural sector of our county. So, Speaker, thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Sanga. Honorable members, a motion has been moved and seconded, and therefore I propose a question. Aware that Uasin Gishu is the breadbasket of Kenya, further aware that the agricultural sector support 80% of the rural population in terms of household income and food security, concerned that no research has been conducted and concluded in respect of the varying agroeconomic ecological zones existing in the county in terms of soil analysis and classification, concerned that zoning will encourage specialization, improve food production, and enhance economic empowerment of the residents, noting that the law on production economic envisages that a region should specialize on what it has been comparatively advantaged. This County Assembly urges the County Government of Uasin Gishu through the Department of Agriculture, Livestock and Fisheries to carry out a crop mapping exercise in the county based on ecological zones and pass the same information to the farmers. Ensuing debate. Honorable Member for Soy.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Sir, I rise in support of this motion. And I want to congratulate the member from Ziwa who has brought this timely motion before this sitting. Mr. Speaker, sir, as I stand, Mr. Speaker, sir, I'm proud to be a combination of a son of a Ma community and a Kalenjin community. These two communities, Mr. Speaker, sir, are very rich in cultural diversities, in naming of the ecological zones, Mr. Speaker, sir. Mr. Speaker, sir, in so doing so, Mr. Speaker, sir, I want to say that in the county of Uasin Gishu, Mr. Speaker, sir, I was born in the highlands, the southern part of it, Mr. Speaker, sir, where the naming of Timborua, meaning the areas where there's bushy, there's canopy of green matter in those lands, Mr. Speaker, sir. For example, Mr. Speaker, sir, recently a soil sampling was done in this county, and the results are with the Department of Agriculture. But up to date, an informal communication, a formal communication to the farmers of Uasin Gishu County on the kind of soil pH that we have in our county, on the kind of the soil texture and profile of this county, has not and has never been submitted to the various ecological zones of this county through the professionals of in the Department of Agriculture and Environment, Mr. Speaker, sir. So, Mr. Speaker, sir, I'm urging that the county government as the prayer that information, pass the information to the farmers. That prayer, that communication be done professionally so that farmers can be given the right information on their kind of soil pH, soil texture, soil profile that suits what kind of plants to be planted on various sectors, Mr. Speaker, sir. Up to date, the report is still sitting in the agricultural sector, in the Ministry of Agriculture, and the actual message has not gone to the people. So, Mr. Speaker, sir, we are also urging that proper policies on land development, proper policies on zoning of priorities of land, where to do farming, where to do the house shelters, where to do the animal husbandry, should actually have proper policies on the various regions, Mr. Speaker, sir.
First and foremost is to thank the Honorable Member from Siwa for coming up with a motion which is touching, very much touching and very much sensitive. Mr. Speaker, sir, we know in this country 80% of the population of Kenya, which is slightly around 30 to 35 million or 30 to 32 million, rely heavily on agriculture. At the same time, 80% of this population also are in the rural areas, and they entirely depend on agriculture on various issues. When we come to Uasin Gishu still, we know up to, I don't have the exact figures, but I know over 90% of us in Uasin Gishu depend entirely on agriculture, which is the mainstay of our economy. And because of global warming, things are becoming more serious every day. We know the climate has changed over time because of the global warming. Even this year, we are not sure whether there will be El Nino or whether there will be no rain. We are not sure. But what we know is that the crops, maize, has been affected entirely, especially the other side, or the eastern side of this part. Maize has been affected, production has been affected. Even in our area still, the southern part, still there's an issue of climate change. And this calls for a change. We need this county to take this motion very seriously. Because if agriculture is affected, then the entire county is affected. The entire economy of this county will be affected. So I think zoning will be a solution in the near future, so that we concentrate mainly on certain particular crops, certain farmers in certain area, concentrate on certain crop, either for export or for local consumption. Then things will move very well. Otherwise, this is a very serious debate. It is affecting this county. And
What is out of order, Honorable Member?
Misleading this House, Mr. Speaker. He is alleging that this zoning, Mr. Speaker, is to inform farmers that you must grow one certain crop in certain area. I want to inform the Honorable Member that what this motion is saying, your Honorable Member, my old friend, is that zoning means various crops can be grown in a certain zone, not specific or one specific crop. Thank you very much. I want the Honorable Member to accept it and continue with his contribution. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Let's do a bit of research. What we say is zone, it means one or more crops. So I'm not talking about a particular one crop. I'm saying one or more crops. So you need to read your books, go back to class and read about the zoning, so that you will understand what exactly I meant in this debate. Otherwise, I stand in support of this motion. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
What makes one grow a certain crop in a certain region is much about the market. Availability of market, accessibility of transport, availability of rain, and all those, Mr. Speaker, those we consider as factors of production. So if at all I grow in one region like Ainapkwe, I grow pyrethrum, for example, and here there is no market for pyrethrum, and I cannot sell that crop so that I can exchange for commodity like
Point of order, Mr. Speaker. Point of order.
What is out of order, Honorable Member?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I think, Mr. Speaker, it is not in order for the Honorable Member to mislead the House that the particular group that you plant in a specific area is dependent on the market. Mr. Speaker, sir, according to my understanding, the group to be grown in Turkana is dependent on the climatical and soil of that particular region. And, Mr. Speaker, sir, it would not be in order for an honorable member to advise the farmers of Uasin Gishu County that now that there is no pyrethrum market in Uasin Gishu, you don't grow even if the conditions are favorable. Pyrethrum, we can transport it to even some factory in Nairobi, and our farmers can get the returns. Therefore, I find the honorable member out of order, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable Chair.
Remember, Mr. Speaker, being my junior in high school, and I want to inform him that, Mr. Speaker, they are transporting the same will incur some other costs, of which you want to cut the cost. What we want to do here, Mr. Speaker, is not to mislead farmers to go into a product we don't have market. We have seen so many products which have been also introduced in Uasin Gishu. At the end of the day, they don't reach the market, Mr. Speaker. I want to say this, Mr. Speaker. And you protect me, Mr. Speaker, sir, because I'm seeing so many.
Proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I want to say this.
Point of order, Honorable Member for Kenya. What is out of order?
Ile shida ya chakula fulani kupandwa mahali fulani haitegemei ile bei ambayo utaenda pata mahali pale. Nataka aelewe vizuri. Mpaka mambo ya kubeba hizo vitu. Haijalishi hiyo ni jambo lingine. Hapa tunasema mambo ya mchanga pale chini. Utapanda chakula gani pale ndio ikue sawa sawa. Kwa hiyo nataka huyu mheshimiwa ambaye yeye ni chairman na yeye ni mwenyekiti wa kweli, Mheshimiwa Speaker. Na yeye mwenyewe anataka kuharibu mambo ya hii huduma ya hii inaitwa nini? Kilimo. Mheshimiwa Speaker, asio yeye. Hatutaki kuona kama ni chama ndio anajaribu kutungua hizi vitu. Asante sana. Naomba arekebishe. Asante.
Proceed, Honorable.
I want to inform these town farmers that there are other factors to be considered. I know where it comes from. It's different from where I come from, Mr. Speaker. And some of them, he is very closer to the town. He can grow anything and he can get the market. Me, I come to the farms of the areas. And I don't want to mislead the farmers to plant a crop. At the end of the day, they don't get the market, Mr. Speaker. Because the driving force here is the market of the produce. Even if, you see, at the moment, we are importing maize from Uganda. And you cannot tell somebody in Nainapkoi to leave growing maize or advise that because of the soil or other factors, we leave the traditional crops we have been growing for some time, Mr. Speaker, and this one has been sustaining us. What's the basis of growing crops in the first place, Mr. Speaker? It's about sustenance in the first place. I'm saying that we don't have to mislead our farmers and advise them because we shall be lender responsible. At the end of the day, we cannot get market for this, and they cannot get anything out of the farming practices, Mr. Speaker. I want to inform honorable member, as much as he wants to work out of this, Mr. Speaker, being the chair of agriculture, I want us to come up with this motion in another better way, Mr. Speaker, and that's why I'm introducing that. I want to move a motion that this motion goes to the committee stage. We analyze and we bring the motion back to the House, Mr. Speaker. Thank you. Honorable Pauline Tuwe to second from Council, Mr. Speaker. Thank you.
Honorable.
This motion should be taken to the committee so that we may deliberate on so many issues in relation to this motion, Mr. Speaker, sir. Thank you.
Township motion to be reverted to the Committee on Agriculture, Livestock and Fisheries. Ensuing debate. Honorable Member for Kenya.
Asante sana Mheshimiwa Speaker kwa nafasi hii, nafasi murwa sana ambao umenipea ili niseme ama kupinga hoja ambayo iko mbele yetu. Mheshimiwa Speaker, kweli ingawa chungu niambie sindifiche. Wahenga wanena hivi, Mheshimiwa Speaker. Na Mheshimiwa Speaker, kwa hii wakati sisi tumeelewa jinsi chumba hili inavyoendeleza kazi yake. Na Mheshimiwa Speaker, kuliko kusema hii mswada iende kwa kamati, hiyo ni kama kumaliza hiyo mswada. Na Mheshimiwa Speaker, ningeomba sana Mheshimiwa Speaker, kwa sababu naitambua kamati. Hivyo Mheshimiwa Speaker, tuendelee kujadili hii mswada na kukubali hii mswada, kwa sababu mswada hili ambao umeletwa na mheshimiwa ambaye anatoka sehemu nyeti ya kaunti hii, Mheshimiwa Speaker.
Point of order.
Yes.
Point of order, Honorable Pius.
To mislead this House that any motion or any bill that has been referred back to the committee is as good as dead. Is it true? It's misleading. We have read reports here and we have debated on the Speaker here. And our committees are effective and they do allowance for doing their works. Honorable Speaker, honorable member is out of order, you mislead this out, that when a motion is referred, it is as good as dead. It's not true, Mr. Speaker.
Mimi nakubaliana vizuri sana na mheshimiwa kutoka Pembelio kwamba kamati zetu zinafanya kazi. Mimi sijasema asifanye kazi. Sinafanya kazi. Kwanza kamati ya agriculture inafanya kazi vizuri. Lakini ilikuwa ni vile nilikuwa nasema Mheshimiwa Spika, kwa saa hii tuko na mswada mingi ambazo ziko kwa kamati, ambazo tukijadili hizo Mheshimiwa Spika, tukiongezea hili itatuchukua muda mrefu sana. Hivyo ndio vile nilikuwa nasema Mheshimiwa mwenzangu. Kwa hivyo napinga hoja hilo na asante sana, mbarikiwe. God bless you.
The honorable member for Tembelia also stand to support this motion, that this motion be referred to the Committee of Agriculture under the able chairmanship of Honorable Chelule. Honorable Speaker, second, I want to thank the mover of this motion. In fact, Honorable Speaker, if in our committee we had received or gotten or perceived such an idea, I think we would have gone very far as a county. And I think this is, I will invite Honorable the mover to be coming to our committee so that he can come with this idea. This is a brilliant idea, Honorable Speaker. And we don't want it to die. Honorable Speaker, and I want to request my friend that he supports it so that we will have enough time to add flesh on this skeleton. Because really it is a good motion, it has good intentions. In fact, the trim is beyond the vision 2030 if we actualize, Honorable Speaker, especially now that there is pressure on land. We need to maximize land, and also we need to consider other intervening variables which come. We need land policy, we need land use division, and so forth, as the Honorable Chief Whip said. There are also other independent variables that we need to address. You talk of greenhouse, you talk of irrigation, you talk of weather, you talk of climate. Honorable Speaker, I think the best we can do to this motion is that we refer, and I would like to urge this Honorable House that let us refer it. It is not lost. Let us go and add more flesh. Let us go and add more flavor. The technicalities, the logistics, we will even call the experts, Honorable Speaker, on land use, on soil, on all these experts. We will invite them so that we will polish it, and really, and we would like the mover to still bring it, even through the committee, or committee, we can let him do, we can sponsor as a committee, but we let him bring it in the fashion and the passion that he has for farmers in this county, Honorable Speaker. So, Honorable Speaker, I beg to support that we move, and I really thank this House that I know they are going to support it.
As many as of the same opinion that this substantive motion to be reverted back to the Committee on Agriculture, Livestock and Fisheries say aye. Aye. Those of the contrary opinion say nay. The ayes have it, Honorable Member, and this substantive motion has been reverted to the Committee on Agriculture, Livestock and Fisheries, and therefore I call upon the Chair to invite other members, and in particular the mover of the motion, over the same and be able to bring the same motion within 14 days. Honorable members, being no any other order on our order paper, the House stand adjourned till tomorrow at 8:30.
Basically, the Speaker is the head of a legislative assembly. Legislative assemblies may be parliament, be it National Assembly or as the Senate, or it may be county assembly or House of Representatives, House of Lords. But for the context of county assemblies, the Speaker is the head of county assembly. Of course, as a Speaker, you have to be different from the other members, being the ex officio member, and that is why is a tradition of county assemblies, as tradition of legislative assemblies, the Speaker has to have their way of dressing. And this is the Speaker's dress code. The Speaker heads basically every other business that goes on in a county assembly. And for the context of county assembly, as a Speaker, you approve every motion, every bill, every petition that will have to go to the floor of the House for deliberation. Also, as a Speaker, you control the debates in the plenary. You also communicate the decisions that have been taken by the House. You also represent the Assembly in every other way as the head of the Assembly. But principally, the business is that one of controlling the actual business of the House, which is actually controlling the debate on the floor of the House. Also, as a Speaker, you chair quite a number of vital committees of the House. For instance, the House Business Committee, which decides the business that goes to the floor of the House. You also had the Committee on Appointment, which vets various officers that need to be appointed to county government service and needs the approval of county assembly, among others. A motion is a request for a resolution by the county assembly. Just basically that. It may be from a member of county assembly or proposed by a member of public through a member of county assembly or forwarded by a committee of the House, requesting actually that the House do deliberate over an issue and give its resolution, directing, urging, or otherwise asking that a certain arm of government performs a given function that has been asked in that particular motion. A motion seeks a resolution of the House for a particular issue. And once that resolution has been made, it is in respect to whatever issue that had been raised in the motion. A bill is a legislation in making. It's a proposed legislation. And once deliberated by the House and passed, it will have to go through the assenting process. And once it has been assented by the government and then gazetted, it becomes law and it will be enforceable and it may touch on several issues. For a motion, it is just a request that the Assembly resolves to do a particular thing or that the county government does a particular thing. Once that one has been done, a resolution of the House does not need assent. It does not need to be assented by the government. It becomes a resolution of the House and it must be respected, and it will have to be respected and executed as passed by the House. Basically, for a motion to qualify to be debated, it has to have some relevance, because if it is relevant, why would it be taken to the floor of the House? It has also to ensure that it satisfies issues of legality, adherence to the law and the Constitution, and also it has to be approved by the Speaker, and after approval by the Speaker, before it goes to the floor of the House, it has to be allotted by the House Business Committee. Allotment means giving it the time during which it will be deliberated upon. At times some motions come and they lack the relevance, they are not consonant with the provision of the Constitution, or they go against the law. Definitely when I have such issues, I have to cancel the member who is forwarding such a motion and tell them that this motion may not see the light of day and I'm not going to approve it because it does not satisfy the requirements of it being approved as a motion going to the floor of the House. When a motion is reverted, it means that it can either be reverted to the committee that brought it or reverted back to the member who had moved the motion for purposes of him doing further research on it and bringing it back. That one ordinarily happens, and there are ways through which that can be done, provided in the standing orders. But every other motion, once it is on the floor of the House, then there are probable consequences. Either the motion is defeated, or the motion is taken, that is passed, or it is reverted to the committee that forwarded it, or the member that forwarded it, or even the House can agree to revert that motion to the committee of the whole House, especially when the motion is touching on a matter of county or national importance. Then the whole House can discuss that motion and give the relevant resolution. So it can always get its way back to the House. So far, the County Assembly of Uasin Gishu has passed a total of 283 motions. Quite a number of them, I can recall, have been reverted, and they have not come back from the committees. And once it is reverted, it is upon the member bringing it, or the committee that sponsored that motion, to request the House Business Committee to reintroduce it. If they don't, that motion dies a natural death. I want to demystify the thinking that motions are just a ritual by county assemblies. We sit and pass resolutions, and that is the end of it. Resolutions of the county assembly have the force of law, and they must be implemented. If they are not implemented, then we have a committee of the House, Committee on Implementation, which has the authority to ensure that every resolution that has been passed by the House, every legislation that has been passed by the House, every petition that has been granted by the House is given effect to the letter. And that committee on implementation has the powers to invite whoever has failed to implement. It has the power to summon them if they fail to honor the request to attend. And it has even the power to propose to the county assembly for serious punitive issues, including impeachment, to be taken against those who have not done what the county assembly has said. So it's basically, again, the county assembly also biting if it is necessary, to ensure that the resolution that it has passed have been implemented.